everyone. Welcome back to Heartland Mamas. I'm Marie Briel.
And I'm Heidi Henry, coming to you from our two socially distant studios at the edge of the Great Red Divide. You can find all of our previous works at heartlandmamas.com, on all podcast platforms, probably carried on the Demcast network, and anywhere you get your entertainment, including YouTube, if you want to see these funny faces talk. We come to our studios to live stream twice a week so we can bring the message of progressivism and the Democratic Party into the Great Red Divide, answering the questions you're afraid to ask and going places you're afraid to go. So,
or people that you live around are afraid to go. We'll go there for you.
We'll go there. We do it so you don't have to. So, Murray, we have a serious topic to discuss today, one that kept me up all night last night. And we are in a constitutional crisis, and I want you to introduce our topic, and let's get started.
I think we are on the precipice of a constitutional crisis. There are still a few hopes and dreams that we can all have. One of the best things that we can do right now is to vote in mass.
Yeah.
If the numbers are so overwhelming, the Electoral College is so solidly in blue, a lot of these eventualities that we're going to talk about today could go either way. But remember, our Constitution was designed on how people should act. Don't think anywhere in the world it ever crossed people's minds that they might act so incredibly selfishly. So you're depending on the character of a person, which is why I always say, when you're looking at candidates, you can listen to them talk, you can read their bios. Really, if you have an opportunity, see how they act when they think no one is looking.
Right.
If you get a feeling about someone that their character, their core is just not there,
Right.
Trust your gut.
Yep.
Because we have someone in the White House now who does not respect any laws, Constitution, or any of the presupposition that this is how things are supposed to be. In the last week, we have seen the death of a legend. We have seen a push to replace her on a court. We've seen a court go from a 9 to 8, where it's a 4-4 on a good day. Most likely it's a 5-3 split already. We are reaching such a fevered pitch where the election integrity has been called into question that one hope is that an overwhelming majority of votes coming in will declare without a doubt that Joe Biden wins the election. Now, where we get into problems is in that case alone, it would be possible to challenge all of the ballots that come in by mail for being valid, or being from the right place, and this is where the sneaky part comes in. Go ahead, Heidi, sorry.
Well, I was just thinking about the Pennsylvania naked ballot issue. And in Pennsylvania, if you don't use the envelope they provide you, if you rip it and decide to stick it in a different envelope, your vote won't count. It's little things like that they're trying to use to subvert an election process that has been safe since the Civil War. That's when we first allowed our soldiers to vote by mail. We don't have much election fraud in the United States. It's a very rare problem, and it has never swung an election one way or the other. I think the biggest election problem we ever had was in 2016, and before that in 2000. In 2000, Al Gore's presidency was stolen by the Attorney General of Florida. That's how close sometimes these things are. You know, and if that election had gone a different way, if Al Gore had won, we would not be in 2 unending wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. We wouldn't be there. I have my doubts that 9/11 would have happened because the transference of power would have been more peaceful, and we would have had some of the same intelligence people in place. You can't say that for sure, but there's so many things that would have been different in how the character of the man running the country, the character, and I'm going to have to say man because it's always been men, the character of that person what they're all about. And Al Gore would not have taken us into war. Like W wanted to be a wartime president. He wanted that so badly. And we're going to discuss that after the election. We'll have a lot of things we need to discuss. We've kind of been in this zone for so long. And the other thing is, in 2016, I think history is going to show that Hillary Clinton actually did win that election, and it was stolen from her by election interference. Those things can't happen again. We can't let it come down to whatever Florida decides to do, and we can't let
So right there, Heidi,
Yeah.
is the beginning of the problem that we're in right now.
Right.
In 2000, Gore conceded because of the peaceful transference of power, because he believed in the Constitution
Yes.
and how things had always been done,
Right.
and tradition and ritual.
Right.
He thought it was best for the nation, not himself, but for the nation.
Right.
Fast forward to 2016, same thing.
Same thing.
Hillary should have fought, and her instinct was to fight. She chose to go with the Constitution, the law, integrity, respect for what it means.
And even
And now you have someone in there who has none of those characteristics,
No.
who the law is merely a tool to silence people,
Right.
and get what he wants. He's always used the law as his, he doesn't pay contractors
No.
and then settles the law. He's always used the law to his advantage. Did we think it would be any different as he takes the presidency?
Everybody who works around him, including his family, has to sign NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, including his family. Marie, people who have nothing to hide or that act within the law don't have everybody around them sign NDAs. That just does not happen. Those are very rare in day-to-day life for a majority of people, and even a rarity in the world of millionaires and billionaires, if he is either one of those. We don't really think he is. So, NDAs are very rare. Even in Hollywood, where he thinks he belongs, even in the NFL, where he thinks he belongs, those are not a common agreement. Very uncommon. And we have somebody who lives and dies by the NDAs, not dies, but he lives by those. And he counts on those to keep all of his secrets hidden. Well, some people are going, screw it. I'm saying what I got to say anyway. And we've seen that in all the books that have come out. And I know that a lot of people have a problem with some of the authors of those books not doing things as they should have right when things were happening. But part of that is the non-disclosure agreements that they had to sign, and they had to figure out a way to circumvent that. But when we talk about election theft, 2000 was one, 2004, 2016, and now we have a president who's throwing shade on our electoral process, which has never been called into question before. In 2004, Al Gore is like, you know what? We have to run the country. That's more important than anything else. In 2004, John Kerry is like, look, Ohio, I know you're going to screw me, but we have to have a peaceful transference of power. We have to continue on. 2016, Hillary's like, you know what? The country's more important than myself. Donald Trump does not feel anything is more important than himself and maybe his daughter Ivanka. Everything else can get
It's a lack
screwed.
of respect for the law. It's a twisting and abuse of what he has always done to the law.
Yes.
And that's where we come to on our little journey here. So, best case scenario, landslide victory, electoral college, solidly Joe Biden. Yay! Well, Trump has a plan for that. Remember Elizabeth Warren? She had a plan for everything. Her plans involved growth and logic and reason and the betterment of humanity.
Right.
Well, Trump has a plan for stealing the election.
Right. And stealing more money from the
in
people.
cases that may be typically Republican states or Republican-held state legislature,
Right.
Republican-held states, is looking at calling into question any of those ballots in large scales. So let's say that Texas blows the hell out of the water, right? Texas becomes blue. They have a swamp of votes. He wins all the electoral college. Trump is going, depending on the number of votes and vote by mail, he's going to claim that that is invalid, and the election officials in Texas will get to decide whether or not the election was valid.
Yeah.
back to our hanging chads in Florida, shall we? When you have a Secretary of State, a Republican-led state like
The
Florida,
Attorney General, yeah.
regardless of the onslaught, and regardless of the numbers, they will question the legitimacy and validity, and that power resides in the state.
Right.
This is what is terrifying. So when he talked about yesterday about throwing out ballots, that's what he was referring to.
Well,
He was referring to
what happened in
being
Florida?
able to get
What happened in Florida in 2000 with the hanging chads, and what happened again in 2004 in Ohio. That's how close those elections were, down to one state, down to one Republican attorney general that effed it up for everybody. I mean, we have hundreds of thousands of people dead in wars that we cannot win on both sides. Civilian casualties in Iraq and Afghanistan are astronomical because of hanging chads. Because of hanging chads, Murray. And if we get to that little spot where it could go either way in Ohio because of naked ballots, which is not Ohio, Pennsylvania with naked ballots, we could have that problem again. Now, we live in Illinois. We know Illinois goes out of its way to help people vote and to do it with as much integrity as possible. But sometimes it comes down to our county clerks. And we know we have one in a local county, in Kendall County. Well, I got a call from somebody today, or an email today. We had to go do some business down at the county clerk's office. Guess what? No screens to protect the people or the workers, and nobody had a mask on. They're like, we can't even do what we needed to do today in the clerk's office because nobody was taking the precautions given by IDPH to protect our health in the time of COVID-19. What do? I said, I get on the phone with the Attorney General and say, what do I do? Call your county health department. But that's that county clerk. And if they're going to let that slip, guess what's going to happen come election time?
Well, actually, in the state of Illinois, county clerks, the clerks cannot require a voter to wear a mask.
Right.
The clerk's offices, then, if they're in there for voting, they can't do anything. So that may be why they.
No,
that's a big concern for a lot of our election judges, is that they do not require, and they have put some procedures in, hopefully.
Hopefully, but this was employees in the clerk's office.
Oh, for Christ's sake! Yeah. But like you were saying,
including the county clerk,
we do have voting. We do have secretaries of state that are, or not secretaries. Yes,
county.
Our county. We have county clerks that are Republican that will change voting places, polling places, that will cut short early voting, that will deny opening. There's all these dirty tricks that occur. They're terrified of when more people are able to vote.
Why is it always the Republican ones that do this? Why is it always the Republicans that have to try to steal elections, try to subvert our democracy? Why is that?
Because they know there's fewer of them, and they know that their thirst for power and control and greed is more important than anything else.
You know, I know that we're going to have a new John Lewis Voting Rights Act, and it's going to have to address everything from the county clerk level on up to the presidency. This is ridiculous that we have to fight so hard for the integrity of an election system that we've always had, that has always worked, that it has a 0.03% failure rate. That is so minuscule.
And it is perception. Heidi, you just nailed it. Okay. It's perception. So the facts, truth, the logic, the data shows we have a 0.003% fraud rate in the United States. Because, and fraud, fraud is what they're not considering what the voter suppression is into fraud, remember. This is only people voting illegally, okay? And people who shouldn't be voting, right? Or, changing numbers. That is voter fraud, right? So there is a 0.03%. All the voting that has taken place in the last 100 years has had fraud.
Let's help people with
that. Now, everyone one of the first things that you hear out of almost anyone's mouth. Voter fraud, whether they're on the right or
Well,
the
the
left.
Republicans have done
The
a great
left
job
is,
selling it.
yes, that's what I'm saying. Perception is everything.
Yeah.
So in reality, reality, data, proof shows it's not a real thing, but perception and gaslighting has created a panic where everyone thinks it is a real thing now.
Right.
And because of that, he has more options to stay in power.
You know, that subversion of power, that subversion or bastardization of democracy, we've seen it his entire run, from the time he came down the escalator to announce to a crowd of paid actors cheering him on because nobody wanted to come and cheer him on. Now he's got crazy people that go and cheer him on, and we've seen them in person. And
Heidi, it's because he has never respected the law.
He doesn't
The
respect
law is
people.
only a tool for him to manipulate in his thirst, in his quest for power and greed. That's it.
Well,
So that's the type of character you get.
Yeah.
It's the person you get when you don't think that those type of people exist in the world.
Well, and he doesn't think people matter. I mean, I've been
oh, not at all.
No, I've been listening to Rage, the Bob Woodward book on Audible.
I'm reading that.
Are you? I'm just listening to it while I'm working. So, and listening to how he talks about his supporters. You and I went to a MAGA rally. Those are working class, a lot of disabled, a lot of elderly people that go. And he's so glad he doesn't have to shake their hands because they're disgusting. You and I both know that he finds them disgusting because they drive old cars. They maybe have a limp. Maybe they're overweight. Maybe they're not pretty. Maybe they're not Trump plastic women. And he hates anything that affects his narcissism, which is that quest for perfection that he can't obtain himself. I mean, he's an old man that's not aging well. And I'm a fine one to talk because I'm not that far behind him in age, but he's an unhealthy person. He's a overweight person. He's not a handsome man. He's kind of horrible looking. And then that's the whole thing with spraying on all the makeup and all the weird hair stuff, is to try to recapture youth and vitality that he no longer has. So he's living in this fake world. Well, when he looks out at his supporters, all he sees is people who are he heckled one of his own supporters at one of his rallies last week about being overweight. Remember, did you see that? He drove him out of the room because he was so fat. No, you need to go on a diet. Get out of here. Get him out of here. He's disgusting. Well, it was one of his own supporters. That's how he is. And he's so glad now he doesn't have to touch them or shake their hands because of COVID. He'll have them come into the room with him with no mask on. And he's breathing that stuff in as they're yelling and screaming for him. So those droplets are heading that direction, Well,
fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Let's hope one of these days that happens to him. And here's the thing we have to remember is Trump is evil, Trump is a dictator, Trump is a fascist. I don't know, we'll have a revolution or a civil war, we'll have to call it a civolution. I don't know what the hell the name of it's going to be. But he doesn't respect law. He feels that he is entitled. He's just going to keep taking. We have Republicans surrounding him in high positions of power. They're going along with it because they're on the gravy train.
Oh, they are.
They don't want to stop the wave because then they too will fall into the outcropping.
Yes.
I mean, hearing Lindsey Graham say, it's, we need to have that fifth, we need to have 9 justices because the election's going to end up in the Supreme Court.
Well,
they've already telegraphed it. They've already said
that's what's going to happen. And I'm sorry Ruth couldn't hang on, a few more months.
Oh my God, I know.
But, here's a very desperately ill woman that was going to the very end. She probably died with a brief in her hand, reading. But I just, it's so sick and so twisted. And it's so disgusting to disregard our democracy. But Murray, he's been building up to this since he was inaugurated. He's been pushing that envelope. He's seeing what he can get away with.
Pushed back.
Nobody pushes back. His party doesn't push back.
no one pushed back because we were trapped in our conventional norms.
Yeah.
Always going to come around. Oh, it's the president. We have to respect
He's learned
the
his
office.
lesson.
Because we were trapped in our own head about what the president should be and not what we had. And so everyone, even Republicans, were like, "Oh, we can kind of, and then they're like, "Oh, we can get this done." Okay, ooh, that's really bad, but I'm still okay with it. And they got so deep in the hole that there's no way out.
There's
for
no
them.
way out. Nobody. You throw them a ladder, you throw them a line, and they still won't climb it. John McCain, with this on healthcare. That's the only reason people have health care right now in a pandemic. And yet, just a few.
Mitt Romney. I'm going to go ahead and vote.
What the hell, Mitt Romney?
I know.
Because he first is like, well, I'm going to vote for impeachment, but yet I'm going to let him, nominate a Supreme Court judge. And you and I have looked at the backgrounds of these two women he wants to put up there. Oh, my God. Women have to be subservient to men. Women don't have autonomous rights over their own body. We're screwed, ladies. We are screwed if they get one of these through. Totally. We will lose all of our rights. We will become property again. We're probably going to lose our right to vote. One of the first things they'll take away.
So there are so many things as we move forward that are terrifying. We have all of these decisions before the court that is no longer full, and we don't know whether it will be full or if there's even any way to stop Trump and McConnell from ramming through a justice. We have cases that are impactful for everyone in the United States coming up. And most importantly, we're going to have this election that, though albeit there is a 0.003% chance that there would be fraud, is potentially hanging in the balance. It's terrifying. It's exhausting, but we cannot let this happen.
Right. We can't. And I would encourage everybody, my husband and I, because my husband is so ill, we had planned to vote by mail. We are now planning to go and vote early, just so we hand deliver that ballot into the ballot box. Illinois is not going to be a big problem, but there's other states, Pennsylvania, I'm looking at you, Florida, I'm looking at you, where they're going to make problems where there aren't any.
Tip of the hat to my area. Early voting in Illinois started today. Find your courthouse, find your early voting site. In Will County, the clerk's office is the only place that is open for early voting as of right now. In a couple of weeks, we open early voting sites across the county. Those site numbers are down, and that's because of COVID and issues concerning. Mm-hmm. They've done other things too, but I'm going to say this morning at 8 a.m. when the clerk's office opened in DuPage and Will, there was a line of people wrapped around the building to be ready to vote. So awesome. Make your voting plan. Lee and I have talked about this.
Yeah.
Make your damn voting plan, because if you go to get in line and it's a 2-hour line, be prepared. If you get there and your name's been bounced off the roll, well, then you're provisional. You need to make sure you have your plan.
Yes.
Check and make sure you're still registered. Check to see your polling place didn't change. Look at your voting options.
Right. Vote.org will help you check and see where you are right now. You can just check online and see what your voter registration status is. And if there's any problems, you take it directly to your county clerk's office and fix it. Don't delay. Don't wait until Election Day. Do not do it on Indigenous Peoples Day or whatever they're calling the former Columbus Day now. Is that what they're calling it? I don't know. Trump is probably keeping it Columbus because, yay, we love raping children, whatever it is, because, we've learned so much about Columbus. None of it good. So, but I'm looking here.
Be sure to get out there and vote, guys. And remember this. I know we all want to vote Trump out, or those of you listening want to see Trump voted out. But please do not forget, go down ballot and vote for every Democrat on that ballot. And if you don't know who to vote for judges, reach out to your county party and ask them, who are the judges? Do some research. Look at their decisions. It'll really help you understand, because our judges are so important.
Shout out.
And a lot of those are retainment.
Yeah.
And some of them are horrible. Vote not to retain. How many of you go in and you see the judge's name and just go retain?
Or not. Because it's
Years
time for,
ago,
yeah.
I used to.
Yeah.
Now I understand the impact that the judicial system has on every aspect of our life. So please research those judicial candidates. Please start those pipelines. Please.
I want
Before
to
you go.
give a shout out to Judge Kilbride, who is on our Illinois Supreme Court. Good man, fair, trustworthy judge, and he needs to be. You need to vote for him because we need him on the Illinois Supreme Court, Justice Kilbride. So he'll be on your ballot if you're in Illinois. And we need fair tax to pass too. We need property tax relief. It's the first
If any
step.
of you listening, check your local offices, your local party offices or your township offices. I picked up a few fair tax, vote yes, fair tax signs. You can put those out in your yard. Your county parties probably have them. I know it seems silly, but we need to do everything that we can. Walk, look on Facebook, find lit drops.
Yep.
You don't have to talk to anybody, you don't have to get any germs. Get out there. Every vote is crucial, and whatever happens after this, even if Trump or the administration tries to deny the election results, the more votes we have, the more power we have in numbers, the better we're going to be to fight what comes after the election.
Right. We can't let up on this one. We cannot.
Don't get tired.
November
4th. Don't. If something happens and we don't have an outcome, don't be exhausted. Be ready to fight.
Be ready to fight. Come up. Get up.
You can collapse January 21st when
we'll sleep.
We'll
sleep good January 20th because we'll have party hardy all day after he's inaugurated. Let's hope that Trump loses and rather than conceding, just defects to Russia. Just go. Just go. We don't need you here anymore. Just go. Don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out. Take your kids with you.
Guys, most important, make sure everyone you know checks their voter registration, makes a voting plan. Tell your neighbors, tell your friends, join a local organization canvassing for candidates to get out the information. We have to fight this, and this is the only way that we're going to be able to do it.
Exactly. And you know what? Getting out and helping makes you feel empowered. It makes you feel like you have some control. It makes you feel like there's hope, and you're going to meet some wonderful people that you can network with, even socially distant, because I do it. The other thing, Murray, is phone calls. I do 4 hours a week for Amy. I do 4 hours a week for Amy McGrath in Kentucky. I call here from Illinois because I want her to beat Mitch McConnell. Not just a little. I want her to paste that little turtle.
And those of you who are keyboard warriors, there are lots of texting programs, and I know different counties have different programs. Those counties or campaigns are happy to have you help.
Right.
And it's a program where you are not actually texting on your phone. You can type. If you're a keyboard warrior and you're passionate about a candidate, find a way to get the vote out by doing a texting program.
And
sharing on social media.
Yeah. The other thing too is if you're concerned about using your phone number, you can get a Google Voice number and use that number to make your calls. It keeps you a little bit more anonymous if that's what you want to do, and helps keep you rooted into your community because people need to hear your voice. They need to hear from you. My daughter is writing postcards for the state's attorney's candidate that's by us. She's written like 500 postcards for him. So they provide the cards and the addresses and the stamps, and she just writes a little written note, please vote for. His last name is Martin, and she writes it all out and then mails them. She's done, like I said, at least 500 of them right now, and because she believes in the cause, and she's only 26, so but we have to, in order for us to change things, we have to be willing to carry part of the load. You have to pick it up and walk it forward because nobody's going to do it for us this time.
And regardless of the outcome, we know what side we're on and we keep fighting until we get what we want. So just remember that, guys. It seems a bit despairing. I felt a little disparaged. Not disparaged. I felt, sort of overwhelmed with the information coming out recently, and I'll tell you though, it just means we buckle down and fight harder.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining us today. Join us every Tuesday and Thursday at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time for our live Facebook shows. We also have a candidate series and other shows that we've done in the past. You can find us at anywhere you get your favorite podcasts, Cast USA, Buzzsprout, YouTube, Heartland Mamas.
MAMAS.com. See you later, everybody. Take care. Bye bye.
Thanks.